Hey guys, Dr. Decks here. Today I'm going to show you how to put a notch in a deck board that mates up really nicely with this downspout, this gutter downspout. We had a couple questions on a previous video. We were just working on a deck and Studio Man caught me creating this hole in the deck to make a downspout, and somebody said, hey doctor, can you go into detail on how you did that, how you figured that out? So I was like, you know what? That's a good video. I didn't do this in the beginning of my career. I would just cut a rectangle in the decking and stuff this in there and call it good. And, you know, if I was close, it looked okay. But most downspouts have an eased edge. This is a vinyl one, but even most aluminum downspouts, they have like a 3/4 inch bowl nose, 1/2 inch, somewhere in there. So what I thought we'd do is I'll just go through the entire process of how I identify, mark out, and create a nice hole for this to go in that kind of fits the form, not with all these little ripples. We don't need to do that, but at least these edges to make them look nice. Okay, so today I have a tape measure, a pencil to identify our mark, a jigsaw for the cut, and a 1-inch spade bit or paddle bit, and a drill. So here we go. So the reason for the 1-inch paddle bit, it gives us about a 1/2 inch radius, which is similar to, maybe not perfect for this corner right here, but it gets us really close. It gets us in the neighborhood. I think on an aluminum gutter, it's a little bit closer, but you could use a bigger paddle bit if you want, but usually 1 inch is something very common that we have in every paddle bit set that we own. So I just usually grab that. So the first thing you got to do is identify where your notch needs to be in the deck board. Usually there's a 1.5 inch ledger board in the way before the downspout can go through the deck. So I usually will put my decking wherever I need to place it, which is normally 1.5 inches away, right? If you push the deck board all the way against the house and you have 1.5 inch ledger, then that's where your hole would start for the gutter. Most downspouts are usually around 2¼ thick and 3¼ wide. This particular vinyl one is closer to 2 inches. I lied. It's closer to 2¼ but this way I think it's closer to 3. So this particular downspout is 3 inches. So always measure that before you get ready to make your hole, because you don't want to make it too big. I like to make mine pretty snug. So I'm going to go with that 3-inch mark. And I'm going to go with that 2¼ and we'll kind of stuff this in for a nice fit. So I know that my hole needs to be 2¼ by 3 for this particular install. And I know that I need to be 1.5 inches away from the edge of the deck board to start my cut. Okay. And I've also laid this up against, let's just say this is the downspout at the house. So now I can set my square up to one edge of the downspout right there. And I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this board, just the side of it. I'm using white lead, guys, so you can really see the mark on the board. If you use graphite, you can kind of see it, but not as good as this white. So I'm gonna mark, there's my first side mark. There's 1.5 inches right here. Okay, so now I know that 1.5 inches, and I need to be 3 inches wide. So I'm gonna burn 1 inch on my tape measure, because sometimes when you're using the end of this tape, you can be off a 1/16 depending if you push or pull it, right? So if I know I need to be 3 inches, I'm going to burn 1 inch, so I'm going to mark it at 4 inches and at 1 inch. Now that I have the side marks done, I'm going to take this from my 1.5 inch mark, and I'm going to go 2¼ and I'm going to burn 1 inch. So I'm going to mark it at 3¼ right there, okay? You could do this two ways. You can burn 1 inch here, mark 3¼ over here, and then you can draw a line with your square like so, or like so, or like so. Or you can do it like the cool kids and find the mark on your square that has the indentation and just draw a line like that, and then connect the lines. Okay, so there's the opening for our downspout. Except if I cut this out as a square, it's gonna look terrible when we go to put this in. I mean, terrible. Here's a great example. So basically what we're trying to do here, guys, is we want to actually make this look like this. Okay. So we don't want to cut this part of the board out. We want it to stay put. We want it to stay intact, but we want this curved look on the corners, right? Now, you could be a gangster if you don't have a drill bit. If you don't have the right drill bit, paddle bit, round over bit, whatever, then you can just use a jigsaw. Or you could cut these at a 45-degree angle and they'll look pretty good too. But if you want to be full on perfect or looking really good, I suggest you take a 1-inch drill bit, paddle bit, and you use this to drill 4 holes in your pattern. And what I do is I just take this sharp point and I kind of line up the edge. So this edge lines up right here, and then I turn the bit, and I got to move it this way a little bit so that this edge lines up with both sides. And once I'm happy with that alignment, I'll go ahead and drill that hole. So here we go. I'm happy with that alignment. Let's go. As you start drilling your hole, if you don't like the way it's going, you can kind of move the paddle bit a little bit, but I do like the way that's going. Okay, now it looks pretty darn good. I'm gonna do that 3 more times. So I'm gonna drill out every single hole the same way I did this one, and it's gonna keep this corner. So this gets erased. So that's what your finished look's gonna be, okay? So you just try to keep your paddle bit as close to the edges of those outside perimeter lines as you can. And if you get over a little bit, it's okay. You can kind of use a jigsaw to adjust those lines just a little bit, and nobody's gonna know the difference. So I'm not gonna tell. Are you gonna tell? Probably not. See that one? I got a little bit over my line. I don't think anybody's gonna know the difference once we're done cutting this out though, okay? But the more time you take to adjust, the better it's gonna turn out. Now we have all 4 of our holes drilled. Now we're just gonna connect the dots by taking your jigsaw and cutting out from point A to point B. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. And remember, this one was a little over drilled, so I pulled the blade back into that section that was a little deep and started my cut there, and it looks really good. I'll do the same thing here. You can see I'm obviously too far back on this hole from my line, so I'm gonna open this hole up just a little bit. And I went ahead and took the white line on that side. Now also, I'm gonna clean this hole up before I try and fit my gutter in, okay? Or my downspout. If you look inside of here, you can see that there's still a little bit of material in here. The only line we really care about is at the very top of this hole. I don't care what the bottom of this or the sides of this look like, so I'm gonna shave a little more material off these edges so that when I push my downspout through, it's not being bound up by this extra material that's sitting around. And by doing that, it just makes it for an easier fit. So I'm just gonna take my jigsaw on an angle, and I'm just gonna cut that extra wedge out and just kind of clean it up. I'm also gonna clean up my line if I need to for any other purpose. Like if I just don't like the way, if I don't like the way it looks, or I don't like the way it feels. To me, that's looking pretty good. I think our downspout's ready. There's one more thing that I need to do before I test fit this, because I'm so confident that it's gonna fit right, I might as well just finish it off, right? So I'm gonna put a little rasp or a file edge on this edge right here. So I'm gonna go grab a quick rasp. I'm just gonna give it a detail. I'm gonna erase all these white lines. All right, guys, so we are at the shop today. So I'm gonna use Grandpa's old rasp, all right? This ought to do the trick. It's a little large, but you guys will get the idea. Okay, It's not much, guys, but it's in the details. Just a little tiny bit of extra detail. Maybe you don't notice it now, but let's see what it looks like when we put this down. Okay, so before you fasten this deck board down, test fit this and make sure it fits the way you need it to. Just a simple piece of advice from the doctor, okay? Okay, here we go. So my board's still loose. That looks pretty good to me. What do you guys think? Now you can go ahead and install that deck board with confidence, knowing that you're a stone cold gangster and you know exactly how to notch a deck board. This just makes it look really professional, and I hope that helps somebody out there if you're a beginner or you're a first-time deck builder. It's these little things like this that really help you set the bar. You know, somebody might be walking by and go, wow, man, they really took the time to notch in that downspout. That looks so clean. So I hope it helps. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of this technique. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget, the most important thing you do today is click that subscribe button. And the next most important thing would be to hit the bell icon to be notified when we're putting out new content. Thanks so much for watching this channel. Thanks for coming, guys. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.